What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video I am diving into the Spring Cup. I honestly really enjoy this meta. I loved it last year and I'm enjoying it again today. Now I'm bringing a very strong ABB team, and what you guys are commonly going to see is that ABB formation in this meta, whether it's double grass or double water. That's typically what you see. Now what I have here is a Ferrothorn Jellicent core with a Tentacruel safe swap, and that Tentacruel safe swap is really nice to soften things up. The moveset as well over there, the mirror shot, I think is very important for Ferrothorn, because of what it can do against Pokemon like Abomasnow or Galarian Weezing. Those are two very important Pokemon, plus the shield baiting opportunities. So if I had to give an honest opinion between having Thunder or Mirror Shot paired with Power Whip, it's got to be the Mirror Shot. You guys will see it come in clutch today, and yeah, it's a fun team. Really good games, close wins, close losses, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, getting into the first battle, Ferrothorn versus Shadow Mawile. This is obviously one of the worst league matchups you can possibly have. We're going to go ahead and go into that Tentacruel. And instantly we see a Shadow Victory Bell. I am by no means surprised, but this is what Tentacruel is built for as a safe swap. Drawing out those grass type Pokemon, applying a lot of pressure to shields with the Acid Spray and Poison Jab, and we almost completely take Switch. Which is really nice. Now, we're going to go ahead and come back in with Ferrothorn here and look to load up on energy, and then we're going to have to go into that Jellicent. What we're hoping for is obviously not another grass in the back, but if it is, we have the 2-to-1 shield advantage, so there will be play. Now, we're going to go ahead and go for Mirror Shot now, just to make sure the switch clock is delayed here so that we can swap in right away. It's going to do quite a bit of neutral damage. We swap out into Jellicent, and in comes a Tentacruel. So this is a very good position to be in a matchup where we're resisting the fast move. We have 2-to-1 shield advantage, and we can gain energy very quickly with Hex. We're going to go ahead and let the Acid Spray go through. And now we're going straight Shadow Balls. This is the time when you do not want to get caught throwing a Surf and they decide to no shield. So we're going straight Shadow Balls. They do decide to shield right there, which is fine. Again, going back to back here is the play, as I can safely shield this next charge move, being a potential Scald. So we're going to go ahead and stop that. It is going to be another Acid Spray. So we're going to overload on energy, go for Shadow Ball here. And what you guys are going to notice is Shadow Ball is not enough damage to one-shot the Tentacruel. So we're going to have to actually swap into Ferrothorn now to catch the charge move. The reason being is we clear the Acid Spray debuffs on our Jellicent, and we soak the Scald right there. We're going to see the Mawile come back in, which is totally fine. We can go ahead and load up with one more Hex. We'll have to shield this charge move, but remember, Tentacruel is out of energy. So the play here is to basically try to go for Shadow Ball, and then race to the Surf there against Tentacruel with Jellicent. Shadow Ball, boom, takes out the Mawile, and then we should be able to get to the Surf in time, as we do resist the Poison Jabs. And that, my friends, is a good game, very well played. This team has so much flexibility, boom, in this meta. Alright, moving to the next one, Ferrothorn versus Pelipper. Really good lead right here, and what I want you guys to take away from this, if you see a water flyer at all, you gotta pay attention to what they do and don't do, and that will be a tell to what is potentially in the back. So we're going to go ahead and go for Power Whip. They decide to shield. So this is telling me they might have another Pokemon weak in the back to Ferrothorn. So we're going to go ahead and stop that Hurricane. They swap into Abomasnow, and this is where Mirror Shot comes in clutch. Even though we're not going to be staying in this matchup, the Mirror Shot does a good amount of chip damage right there, and it could potentially debuff. So we will be able to completely fast move down Abomasnow. Energy Ball, only neutral here against the Tentacruel, so we're going to be able to no shield that, and then just completely farm down. And now look at this, we maintain switch advantage, we maintained health on Ferrothorn, and our opponent as well might be weak in the back to Ferrothorn. It happened quite a few times. You're going to see some Pelipper games today, along with who else was it? Swanna. You'll see a Swanna game as well, but we're going to go ahead and go for Scald. Now, I have been going for Acid Sprays to set up, But what we want to do right there is go for as much damage as possible. Right here, I'm now going to go for the Acid Spray thinking they would shield, but they actually didn't. So this tells me that they actually don't care about the Pelipper. They're looking to let it go, but Weather Ball is still not enough to KO, and they actually have a Ferrothorn in the back. So it wasn't a Pokemon that was weak to our own Ferrothorn. But it was a Pokemon that we can handle regardless. So we're going to go ahead and come back in with our own. We applied the Acid Spray debuff right there, which is really crucial for this matchup because our Power Whip is just going to be doing that much more damage, right? So Power Whip there, not going to do enough. We're going to go ahead and go for our own Power Whip and then look to close this game out, especially with having a healthy Jellicent in the back. Now we get a shield from them, so maybe they're anticipating that I have another water, which I do, which is why they decided to shield right there, but Thunder is just not going to be enough, and we also have to anticipate that they still have the Pelipper alive lurking in the back, so we might need to look out for that in order to not throw a charge move, but they actually swapped into Pelipper right away. Right there. Maybe they were trying to clear the debuff of Acid Spray there from Ferrothorn, but that is going to be okay because what we can do now is save our Jellicent here, save a shield for our Jellicent, and then use Tentacruel as a safe swap. So I'm going to go ahead and come in right away. They will throw the Power Whip instantly, which we're going to go ahead and look to shield, and then now we're going to try to catch the charge move here, and we do. Perfect. Tentacruel, absolutely amazing in this meta, able to catch this energy, and it was the Thunder as well. That is so much energy caught, and we can safely go for this Surf. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. Once again, this team has flexibility in this meta. All right. Moving into the next one, we have Ferrothorn on the lead versus Tentacruel. So this matchup, pretty straightforward. We dominate it pretty hard, especially if you do have Thunder. But like I said, we want to have Power Whip and Mirror Shot. So what you got to do is fake a Thunder, which is going to be an extra fast move over Power Whip. And what we're going to see now is I'm just going to overload back on energy and wait for them to throw. And then I will go into my own Tentacruel. So an inverse matchup. But in this case, they decided to go for Acid Spray there. So we're going to go ahead and swap out into our Tentacruel, as Poison Jab is going to be doing quite a bit of damage paired with Scald and Acid Spray, right? As it's neutral here. So we're going to go ahead and let this go. It is going to be Power Whip. I didn't need to shield because I knew it wasn't going to be Thunder. I don't think a Thunder Acid Spray Ferrothorn is going to be the best combination. It makes sense to have Acid Spray and Power Whip, much like we have Mirror Shot and Power Whip, right? So now we're going to have to unfortunately give up a shield in order to maintain switch advantage because I don't know what they have in the back, but obviously I want to have that leg up against them. I don't necessarily want to see another grass back there that the Jellicent might have to deal with. So we go ahead and take out the Ferrothorn. We will see Tentacruel come back in. We're going to try our best to get to this Acid Spray, but we lose charge attack priority, unfortunately. And so we're going to go ahead and let this go. It is going to be the Scald that will take us out. And then now we're going to come in with Ferrothorn and load up. We have plenty of energy right here. Even though we're at a shield disadvantage, we are still in a good position to potentially win this game. And there is an Abomasnow in the back. And this right here is why you have Mirror Shot. Look at what is about to happen. Remember, Abomasnow, grass type, very good against Jellicent with that energy ball. But the Mirror Shot spam from a Ferrothorn, everyone, is so good. We are just going to be able to throw them back to back to back. This is the third one in a row now that we are able to throw. We get both shields from Abomasnow and the debuff right there. So they're going to go ahead and throw Icy Wind, which is fine. We can swap into our Jellicent now, and this is looking to be a good game, very well played. All we need to do is safely shield the energy ball, which is the hardest hitting move left in this game. It is going to be Icy Wind, but we can safely go for Shadow Ball here. Even with the Icy Wind debuff, this should be enough damage to take out Abomasnow. Boom, down it goes, and in comes Tentacruel, and that is going to be a good game. Unfortunately for them, they just don't have the firepower remaining in order to take us out, right? All we need is one Shadow Ball and one Surf in order to win this game, as we can go for Shadow Ball here, and then it's just going to be a race to the Surf, and that will be a good battle. Shadow Ball, not enough to KO, but you guys can see it is low enough where it just doesn't matter, and they do decide to surrender. So good battle. All right, moving to the next one. Ferrothorn versus Galarian Weezing. This is probably one of the toughest Pokemon to face off against, so I decided to go into Tentacruel here, and they swap in a Ferrothorn. Now, the Galarian Weezing is tough because of the energy gain that it has with Fairy Wind and the moveset of Brutal Swing and Overheat. I do not want to be playing mind games or allow it to get a lot of energy, because that is just going to seal my fate, and that will be probably the biggest hurdle for you in your battles, is if you let Galarian Weezing get way too far ahead, it's going to be bad news bears. So instead, I swap into Tentacruel right away to draw out the potential hardest counter in a grass-type Pokemon to Jellicent in the back. So we do that with the Ferrothorn. There could be another Pokemon back there like Abomasnow, but odds are, actually the odds are pretty good that it is Abomasnow. So we're going to come back in with Ferrothorn right here, and we're just going to load up on energy and just make sure that we're pretty, I decided to go for a full farm down on this one. I think looking back at this in hindsight, they went for Flash Cannon there. I decided to swap into Jellicent to farm down because my fear was that there was another grass type Pokemon back there, but there wasn't, or not. My fear was that there was another grass type, and that I would need to be ahead on energy in order to match up against that. So Drill Peck there, able to land, but now we can go for Shadow Balls here against Empoleon. And our Ferrothorn is just in another good position. Energy stored on Ferrothorn is one of the deadliest things in this meta, much like the Galarian Weezing here. But thankfully, Galarian Weezing just has enough for a Brutal Swing right now. So they're trying to overload on energy, but I have 2 shields, right? And I have a Ferrothorn with multiple mirror shots. So it is, boom, it's over. We're going to go ahead and go for the back-to-back here. This is neutral damage against the Galarian Weezing, as we do get a shield. And we're going to go ahead and go for the second one. And mind you, this started with Galarian Weezing on the lead. And we turn this around with a 2-0 matchup against Empoleon. Good game. All right, moving to the next one. Ferrothorn versus Empoleon on the lead. Now, Empoleon can be handled by a lot of our team. The toughest matchup is obviously going to be the Tentacruel. But what's also tough here is the Empoleon's damage with Drill Peck can stack up really quick. So we got to be careful about how we decide to deal with this, and we also need to start considering what could they have in the back. We're going to throw the Power Whip here. It does land, and now my concern is that they are double weak to grass because they might just trying to be sacrificing their Empoleon. So I'm going to decide to shield here, which is why I gave it up early, just to keep the Ferrothorn alive. And they actually have a Victory Bell in the back, so seeing this come onto the field is really nice. So we're going to go ahead and go for Mirror Shots and just do as much damage as possible. As you can see, it actually does a good amount there against the Shadow Victory Bell. We have multiple ready to go, and at some point, we need to be coming into Tentacruel. So I'm going to do it after this next Mirror Shot, and then I should be able to fast move down the Tentacruel here. So we're going to go ahead, and we do get 2 shields. We're going to look to go for the next Mirror Shot, and I think I'm staying in way too long, to be completely honest. I should have come in with Tentacruel a lot sooner, because, again, they decided to stay in with Empoleon pretty long, and I'm very fearful that there may be something like a Lantern in the back, or or another water that I might not be able to handle. So I shield the charge move there. Sure enough, it was Lantern in the back, and this was a pretty good signal to me at the beginning when they stayed in with Empoleon and decided to no shield, that they were just trying to get rid of my Ferrothorn as quickly as they could in order to potentially win this game. Now, my opponent stores a lot of energy there on Lantern as I look to fully farm down the Empoleon, but I don't get it in time, unfortunately. So I have to let this go. It is going to be the Drill Peck, but we survive, and I go for the simultaneous KO. Now, Lantern coming in. This is tough. A Thunderbolt, obviously landing is going to be difficult, but I do have Switch, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into Ferrothorn, but I don't catch the charge move, and they throw anyways. I was nowhere near the charge move, so a slight misplay by my opponent on the energy read, but to be completely honest, it's kind of hard to keep track after all those mirror shots that I spammed, right? So they played it safe, but unfortunately by playing it safe, it is going to allow me to get to this Shadow Ball just in time. Look at the health remaining on my Jellicent as we get there, and they survive with 1 HP and a drink. Both Pokemon, 1 health point, literal 1 health point. Good game. All right, there's the Swanna I was talking about earlier. Again, read what your opponent is doing and not doing. These water flyers are staying in a matchup that is pretty one-sided. I know they can do a lot of neutral damage with Hurricane, right? But to be completely honest, the damage from Power Whip is way too strong. So I'm reading another water in the back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed in, right? They wouldn't have stayed in this long. So we're going to go ahead and soak the Hurricane there on our Tentacruel. In comes Marshtomp. That's a good call right there. As we go ahead and look to go for Scald now. This is going to do quite a bit of neutral damage, obviously hoping for the debuff from my opponent, but getting this Marshtomp onto the field is going to be pretty nice. We get a shield there, which is good, and then what we're actually going to do is, because I see a water, I'm wondering if this is a triple water team. So I'm going to come in with Ferrothorn here to soak the damage, and then we will go ahead and shield the Mud Bomb. I'm reading maybe triple water, so I'm going to go ahead and go for Power Whip in order to KO the Marshtomp. And if they decide to shield, which they do, I'm like, this is a triple water team. Bold by my opponent, if I do say so myself. So I'm going to no-shield this next Mud Bomb, make sure I load up a little bit extra energy, but they get to another one in time, which is really unfortunate for me. So I have to give up the final shield here, as Mud Bomb's going to be stopped. And then we're going to go ahead and load up a bit more and swap into Jellicent now to catch the charge move. Again, if they are triple water, odds are it's a Lantern back there. So let's see if it's going to be. It's not. It's Togetic, which was still weak to Ferrothorn, right? But Jellicent coming in now is going to do pretty well. Shadow Ball does a lot of neutral damage. Still got to watch out for the Ancient Power. This Togetic is no joke. If you guys used it in last season's Specialty Cups, it was pretty fun there, as Shadow Ball will land. And now my opponent is able to get to the next charge move. But again, energy stored on Ferrothorn is one of the deadliest things you can do. So we're going to go ahead and go for Surf, but we don't get it. So I'm going to go for Mirror Shot right away. This is obviously super effective damage. And then whatever they come in with, we basically have to farm down in order to throw another charge move against the next opponent. So we farm down the Swanna, and then the Marshtomp is going to come in. We go ahead and go for Power Whip. So that is going to be a good game. Ferrothorn, really strong in this meta, obviously. Boom, down it goes. All right. Moving to the next one, Ferrothorn, Shadow Victory Bell. Tough team right here to be, or tough, not a tough lead, an annoying lead to face off against. But thankfully, it's not on the back line, right? And if it was, we'd be hopeful that it's aligned to the Tentacruel. So we go ahead and go for Mirror Shots. We get the debuff as well, which is huge, as we can now safely just no-shield this charge move. It's likely going to be Acid Spray, as, yep, it is. Totally fine, completely manageable, and excuse me, with a Shadow Victory Bell lead, odds are it's double water in the back, so we need to be careful about how much health and energy we keep here on Ferrothorn. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Mirror Shot after I've loaded up quite a bit here. Obviously, if there's another water in the back, we're going to be able to get to a Power Whip or two before we go down. So Ferrothorn goes down, but in comes a Wheezing, and I'm like, uh-oh, okay, so it's Wheezing in the back. Maybe there's still something weak to Ferrothorn, so I decide to swap into Tentacruel after loading energy, and sure enough, there is the Lantern. Now, this Lantern can do very well against our backline, right? You guys know that. But what's great about Tentacruel and forcing a Lantern into the locked mid-game matchup here is it's stuck. And it's stuck with the debuff of Acid Spray, which is really good as we let the Thunderbolt, boom, go through. Now, we're going to look to be coming in with Ferrothorn, and we got to get rid of this Lantern. We got to get rid of it quickly. So we're going to go ahead and overload just a bit, go for Power Whip here, and then hope that our Jellicent with Hex and Surf paired with the Ferrothorn can do well. But my opponent decides to shield, which is really interesting because they just gave up shield advantage, and this is now a tough call. I'm going to go ahead and bring this into the ones in order to stop the Surf. They swap into Galarian Weezing, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into Jellicent. Now, I did catch a super effective charge move right there with Brutal Swing, but what this now does is it sets me up to potentially still win this game, as I can go ahead and no-shield the Brutal Swing. I should be able to get to the Surf now in time, and this is going to put pressure on that final shield from my opponent. So we're going to go ahead and go for Surf. We do get the final shield, and then now, because of our steel typing, we're going to be resisting the Fairy Winds right there, as we're going to be shielding the final Brutal Swing. We have to throw back-to-back mirror shots in order to take it out. But this is going to be a close one. We go ahead and go for the first mirror shot. It's not going to be enough to KO, and I'm also very well aware that Lantern might be swapping back in, and there it is. So I'm going to have to load up and go for Power Whip here. And now this is once again going to be coming down to a fast move. Bullet Seed versus Fairy Wind. Resisted versus resisted, and I go down. Good game. Alright, moving to the next one. Ferrothorn versus Pelipper here on the lead. Once again, we're going to read what our opponent does and does not do. So we're going to go ahead and load up. We're going to be going for the Thunder, right? We're faking the Thunder here, going for the Power Whip. Still a lot of neutral damage because of the Water Flying typing as they decide to shield. Okay, so now we got to see what they're going to decide, what charge move they're going to decide to go for, and they overloaded way too much. This is a lot of free pressure that I can get without having to give up a shield myself as we land the Power Whip, and it allows me to get into Tentacruel now. So not only did I get a shield and damage, but I soaked a Weather Ball as resisted, and they come in with Whiscash. So this is beautiful right here. If you're utilizing a Pelipper versus Ferrothorn and you're kind of in that awkward position, you want to get that charge move off early before I can throw double Power Whips. That's very important because that was free pressure that I was able to apply without having to sacrifice anything on my own end. All I had to do was swap into Tentacruel to catch the charge move. We get the Scald debuff there as well, which is going to allow us to get to one more just in time here against Whiscash. So Tentacruel now forcing shield number 2. This is looking like a good game. We have 2-0 shields. I'm going to come in actually with Jellicent right here and look to soak the damage because my guess is that this Whiscash is going to be going for Scalds in order to apply the debuff, and it did, which is perfect. We're able to resist that damage. Now, if I go ahead and let this go through, I might be able to swap back into Ferrothorn now to get ahead on energy to farm down the Whiscash. They bring in the Pelipper. Obviously, we're going to be giving up the shield here as they have enough energy for Hurricane, which it is, but I still get to fast move down. There's a Whiscash in the back. I have 1-0 shields, and I have basically maxed energy on a Ferrothorn, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. Lantern on the lead. Finally, we see the Lantern on the lead. This is a really good matchup for us. They swap into the Mawile, so we're going to go ahead and bring in the Tentacruel in order to lock this thing down. There's no need to be shielding power-up punches. It's obviously resisted. Fire Fang is resisted. We can do quite a bit of neutral damage here with the Poison Jab fast move. So we're just going to keep loading up. We're going to go ahead and let them get to another one. That's fine. All I want to do is make sure I have enough energy here on my Tentacruel where I can get to a charge move or two versus the Lantern in the back. Now, I don't want to allow myself to get too low. And the reason being is that Shadow Mawile was doing power-up punches, right? And if they start getting me low, they might invest double shields in order to win switch, and I didn't want that to happen. So throwing at the time that I did makes sense as I was able to get the Acid Spray off, or Scald here. as we are able to now put a lot of pressure back on this Lantern, and we get a shield and the attack debuff. So this is beautiful. We come back in with Ferrothorn. There's going to be a Breloom in the back, so we're going to come in with Jellicent. Now, Breloom has access to Seed Bomb as a grass-type charge move, but I think Jellicent can survive, and it's a little close. I should have just given up a shield there, but we're going to go ahead and go for Surf now in order to get a shield, because I should have been shielding the Seed Bomb like 100%, but I didn't. It was a bit risky, but I still get to Shadow Ball in time as our Surf got the final shield from my opponent. So we are min-maxing this game to the biggest extent. 2-0 shield still, as we have Ferrothorn in the back, and they decide to surrender. So good battle. All right, moving into the final one. We have Ferrothorn on the lead versus Shadow Abomasnow. Again, Mirror Shot, really nice to have in this matchup, as we can get to it very quickly. We're going to go ahead and go for the first Mirror Shot. And they know it, right? That was way too quick for Power Whip, and they got to know this Mirror Shot is coming through for super effective damage. We swap into Tentacruel now to really abuse the Abomasnow health, as we draw out a Sea King. Now, we're going to go ahead and go for Acid Spray here. Sea King does have access to Drill Run, but the Acid Spray is going to allow us to potentially farm down before we get hit with 3 Drill Runs. 1 will not be enough to KO, as you guys are going to see. 2 will, but I think I might be able to fast move down. I opt to go for Acid Spray right away. I would love to get Switch so that I can get some Poison Jab damage back onto the Abomasnow here if they decide to come in, because that's a lot of free fast move damage. Or we see Pokemon number 3. And Pokemon number 3 is going to be Feraligatr. So my win condition now is with my own Ferrothorn and utilizing the Jellicent here against the Feraligatr, because obviously we're taking a lot of damage from Shadow Claw, but ultimately the Mirror Shot, the Steel typing, and the Power Whip is what's going to be winning this game for me as we let the Hydro Cannon go through. We're going to see another one come through, which is tough because I might have to shield. So I decide to shield. I know they're bringing in the Abomasnow, but unfortunately I don't get the Shadow Ball off in time. So I'm going to go ahead and double shield here. It is going to be Energy Ball, and now we're going to swap into Ferrothorn and look to put some pressure down. And what's very good about this situation is we double shielded the Jellicent, which has a lot of energy. Feraligatr's out of energy. This Abomasnow is out of energy now after throwing the Weather Ball there. Mirror Shots will be doing super effective damage. We KO, boom, the Abomasnow. We will see Feraligatr come in, but this Feraligatr now has to be facing off against the spammy Bullet Seed Mirror Shot combination, and I don't think it's going to be able to farm me down in time as we get to another one, but they throw the Hydro Cannon, and this, everyone, is perfect. This secures the win for me, because now I can safely go for the back-to-back Surf, as they will decide to actually let this first one go through. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. This team overall, a lot of fun to use. You guys can see the flexibility that this team has, the synergies that it has, the capabilities against the Spring Cup meta. It's really solid. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.